the family for inviting me. I'm so excited because I've been waiting for about a year to give this report. I've been back for a little over a year now, but just haven't had the opportunity to come. So I'm so excited to share with you what happened when I went to Thailand in 2013. So as you remember, some of you were here, Karina and I both came and sort of spoke about what we thought we were going to do there. And we said we did a report and came back. So that is what I'm here to do today. Put up the first slide. We went on March 4th of 2013 and we came back on March 4th, 2014. So we stayed a whole year there.
Wow.
And our initial impression about when we left was that we were going to go there, learn the language for a few months, and then that we would begin to go out to preach to unreached people, because Thailand is pretty much an unreached country. It has 67 million people, but it's about 1% Christian. So it's 99% Buddhist, and it's really entrenched. Buddhism is really entrenched in that country. They have a saying over there, to be Thai is to be Buddhist. And so they figure you're not a Thai person unless you're Buddhist, so it's pretty deep. But Jesus is able to break through all of that, and there were breakthroughs, so we'll share that as well. So anyway, but this is the map, go back to the map of Thailand, the light green area there, the long area. That is, so in the center of the country is Bangkok. So we had to go to Bangkok to learn the language. The ministry that we work with, they are Koreans, and they've been in Thailand for over 25 years. And they invited us to work with them because Pastor Sonny and Pastor Benjamin had met the director. And since she wanted to start sending out long-term missionaries, she thought we could get that kind of training, because Living Hope has done primarily short-term missions. We are very good at that. We do a lot of short-term missions. But this is the first time that we've done long-term missions, and we didn't know quite how to do it. And so we thought we would have a tutor. These people have been doing this for 25 years. So when we went for the training in Singapore, we heard a lot of negative things there. The man told us stories about what happened during those 25 years. And he said when he first got there, he met an American missionary who had been there for 20 years. And this man was leaving. He says, I've been here for 20 years and I have not gotten one convert. Good luck. And he himself, he has 12 churches in Thailand now, and he has 2 churches in Singapore. They're all Thai churches, so even the ones in Singapore are Thai churches. He has committed himself to the Thai people. The churches are all very small. If they have 20, 30 members, that's big. Okay, the one that we were affiliated with had about 15 members when we first got there. So it wasn't a very good report. I mean, it didn't sound very encouraging to hear this kind of report when we got there, that it's tough. He told us it's tough. Thailand is tough. Okay. So anyway, our plan was to study the language for 4 months and then go to an unreached area and do outreaches. So we went there and we did the first 3 months, and then he said, well, you need to do another month because you really need to learn how to write the language. And you know, I feel like I'm called to Thailand. The Lord spoke this to me many years ago, over 10 years ago, that you're called to the nations. And Thailand was the first nation because he had shown me a vision about Thailand, so I knew that Thailand was the right place for me. But Karina doesn't feel called to Thailand, but she just went along with me to be a partner so that I wouldn't have to be alone. And so she started feeling like, I do not want to stay here and study this language. I'm never going to speak it again. I'm not going to use it again. Why am I wasting my time? I came here for something different. So they wanted to separate us. At the end of 3 months, they wanted to send Karina to the northern part of the country and teach English in a school and also at a church where they have a children's ministry. And Pastor Sonny strongly objected and said, you know what, you cannot separate them. Wherever they go, they have to go together. So there was this whole thing with that mission. They felt like we were not ready, you are not ready, you don't know the language well enough, you don't know the culture well enough, you are not going to get one convert, you are not ready. And so we told him, and said, you know, this is what happens when we go on mission trips. The Lord gets people saved, people get healed, people get delivered. We just believe God. I said, we know we can't do anything without Him. Yeah. So we just have faith and we just believe something is going to happen. So he said, well, you know, we've been doing this for 25 years and we know better, but okay, just go. So that's how we were sent off to the northern part of the country, right? So before that, we had a missions team that came from Living Hope. They came just at the end of our schooling. I did 5 months of schooling. They came in the 6th month. And so our first trip was to a village that we'd never been to. So let's have the next slide here. So first of all, we went to Bangkok. We went from Singapore to Bangkok, and that's where we went to school. And this country is called the Land of Smiles. But I call it the land of idolatry. I've got a couple of these statues here. I know one of them is this. I don't know what happened to one of the Buddha statues. It should have been up there in the corner. I don't know what happened to it. There's another one down there, but they're all along the road. People have them in their houses. They build houses for these little statues. Everybody has them. You know, it's a big, big business over there. So I called it the land of idolatry. Okay, you can go to the next slide. Oh, there it is. There's one of them up there. You see that kind of statue? You see them everywhere. Every single place. And along the road, they're selling the little houses for them, for their gods. So people build the little houses behind their houses to house these little gods. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So these are just some scenes from Bangkok. You see the picture in the upper left? That's the building where we stayed. That's the Santapat Mission Center. They rent a building there. All of the missionaries stay there while they're going to school. If you're going to be there for a lifetime or many, many years, then after 3 or 4 months, you get your own apartment. So this is where we stayed. And this second picture is a picture of us on a boat. The first day of school, we didn't know anything. There are very few people in Thailand who speak English. So if you don't know the language, you're just going to be lost. I remember the first day of going out in Thailand, there was a pastor who met us at the airport, Reverend Lim. And he spoke good English, and he's been there for 10 years. He spoke perfect Thai as well. And I remember feeling so lost. We were driving through the Thai, he was showing us areas, and I couldn't read anything. Everything was in Thai. Couldn't read anything. Their script is very different from anything I've ever seen. And so I felt like, oh my God, I'm going to be someone that they're going to have to hold by my hand and carry, because how will I know my way around? I'm someone who loves to read. I like to know things. I couldn't know anything in that place. So anyway, we ended up on a boat. That was on a boat because we tried the taxi, it didn't work. We had to take the bus to the boat, and then we took a motorcycle before we finally got to school that day. So it was quite a terrific first day of school. That building at the far right, that's our school building. It's called Times Square building. It's about 18 floors, and our school called Unity Thai Language School is in that building. So we went there 5 days a week, 4 hours a day. Okay, so that team right down there, there were four missionaries, 2 of them from Korea, and the 2 of us, Karina and I there, and then the other 2 Korean girls, were living at that center with another couple. So there was like 6 people there at the time when we first started this learning. So this is my class. The first class I took in the middle at the bottom, that's my teacher in the front with the blue, and those are class members. That's not all of them. 50% of the students were from Korea. So a lot of Koreans in that place. Okay, please go to the next slide. So this is different scenes that are happening in Bangkok. On the upper part, we have it's like a center where they have all the history of Thailand is there, called Ancient Siam. And so if you like miniature, they make it miniature, but you go into this huge area and you just go around and you can see all the things there. And that's us in a bus going to the place. Karina had her birthday there, so this is us celebrating her birthday. They have the largest crocodile farm in the world, 30 to 60,000 crocodiles. We went there, very interesting place.
Oh, wow.
And then Songkran is their new year. And Songkran, what they do is everybody gets out on the streets and they throw water on you. That's one day of the year, well actually they have it for 3 or 4 days. And then they put this white paste on your face.
Oh, wow.
And there's music and there's food and it's just a lot of jubilation. So we went and we did Songkran. That's why our faces have white. And we had our water guns. This is water gun I have. So everybody's squirting on you, squirting on them. So that's a lot of fun. Go to the next slide. So now the church in Bangkok, we had to attend that church every Sunday. We were not allowed to visit any other churches for the first 3 months. In the church, there's only one deacon who speaks maybe 30% English. The pastor spoke very little, I would say 10%, and the rest of the people nothing. So we sing, but we don't know what we're singing. They preach, we don't know what they're preaching. They read the Bible, we don't know. So it's a very, very odd feeling when you're in a position like that where you absolutely can't understand anything. You feel really out of place. But we knew that we were going to eventually learn, and we tried our best to communicate as we could. This in the middle, that's some of the young ladies that go to the church. They're college students. And on the right at the top, that's the first day we were there at the church. And you see the 2 Korean missionaries sitting right there. I think there were probably 15 people there on the first day. And then there was a missionary team that came from Singapore, the Koreans also. And we joined with them to do an outreach. So here at the bottom you can see Karina is with her group, and then I'm with my group in the middle. We went to the university to recruit students to come to our outreach. And here we made kimchi. This is one of the things that they did. Can you go to the next slide? So when the team came, after we had studied the language, we pretty much learned how to do basic Thai. I can speak basic Thai, how are you, where you're going, what you're doing. You know, I want this or I want that. But, you know, I can't really get much complicated than that, okay? I can read and write Thai as well. That was very difficult for me. I think at that time I was, 64 years old, but actually I became 65 in that year while I was there. And I feel like I was like in preschool because the characters were so difficult, so hard for me to get grasp and to just remember everything was very, very difficult. Okay, so then we went on this outreach to a village called Chayapum in the northeastern part of the country. It's near the Laos border. And a team of 4 people had come from Living Hope. And of course, Nan Ravi was leading the team, and she's Thai, and she speaks Thai, so that was very helpful. And we had a pastor from Singapore who's a Thai pastor, Pastor Joy. She did all the interpretation for us as well, and showed us how to get where we were going. So anyway, we did home visitations, and we did medical missions. And see, on the road right there, when we first got there, we immediately got out of the bus and we went to start doing home visitations. We would pray for these families, and people got saved, people got healed in their homes. Then we did the medical mission. You can see the top, middle, and right pictures here where we examined patients in the house. There was this house. One of the members of the Thai church in Singapore had built this beautiful house for her mother. I mean, it is beautiful. I don't have a picture of it here, but marble floors, just very beautiful. And there's no church in that village, but her mother's a Christian. There are about 20 other Christians in that village. So they come to her house and do house church. And so she housed us there, and we had services each day. We say 3 days, we had services each day we were there. So during the time we were there, there were 3 people that got saved. One of the people that got saved was a lady who was dying of liver cancer. She was in a relationship with another woman. And she was able to actually get up and come to this house service that evening after we prayed for her. And then her partner got saved. I understand that a week after we left, she died. So we thank God for her salvation before she actually died. So during the medical mission, it was very exciting. It was very exciting for me because I've done medical missions before. We've gone to Indonesia. But I don't usually get to pray for the people. It's not exciting what I did. I didn't do anything. It's what God did. Yeah. So, you know, normally I would see the patient, maybe somebody else would dispense medications, and then Pastor Benjamin would pray, and he'd see the result right there. People would get healed. But this time we didn't have a big team. So I had to pray for the people. After I examined them and found out what the problem was, myself and the Thai pastor would pray for them. So the very first lady I saw, she was like 28 years old, and she had this pain behind her knee. And so when I examined her, I felt this cyst. It was about the size of a golf ball behind her knee. And not much I could do for her. She needed to have that surgically incised. I said, but you know, Jesus can heal you. So we prayed, and she started jumping up and shaking her leg. It's not there anymore. It's not there anymore. And I examined her. The cyst was gone. I was probably more excited than she was because I got to see this firsthand, you know, because I got to pray for her. And then there were many people that had musculoskeletal problems. They had neck pain because they work very hard. They use manual labor. They have the machete and they're cutting the sugar cane and they're harvesting the rice, and it's very physical. And that's one lady, she was a young lady too. She said, I have so much pain and headache. She said, sometimes I just cry. I mean, because they don't even have mojo or anything. And we just prayed for her, and she started jumping up and shouting, it's God, it's God, it's God. And we had prescribed medicine for her. She said, I don't need that, I'm healed. And then several other people got healed of several kinds of things that day. Yeah. So then there was another lady, in the evening we had a service. Another lady came. She had heard about the healings that morning. She's a Buddhist. Her husband is the assistant chief of the village. But she said, I believe that if you pray for me, I will get healed. So she had a frozen ankle. She had been in a motorcycle accident and was injured. And you can see the discoloration of her foot. And she couldn't really bend it. And we started praying for her, and she started walking. Oh, it's getting better, it's getting better. So by the time we finished, it was 80%. Well, Pastor Joy heard from her the following week, said it's totally healed. So God did awesome things in that place. So then the next village we went to, at the bottom there, this is the church where we actually stayed. When we went to stay for 5 months, we stayed in this particular church in a place called Don Juan. Now it's in the province called Buriram, which is in the center, sort of a little bit towards the eastern part of the country. They speak a different dialect. The pastor and his wife, those two people in the middle there, the pastor with the black and white shirt and the wife with the green shirt, those are the pastors of that church. The man is like, he's over 70 years old. He used to be a monk. And he got saved about 13 years before that and built this church. Well, they have a very small congregation. Like I said, about 10 to 15 people were there. And we had a little small medical mission, not too many people came. But people, I remember this lady had a problem with her heart. And after I had seen her, the team prayed for her. And she started just weeping and weeping and weeping. And so the next day she said her heart was healed, that she wasn't having that problem anymore. She said she didn't know why she was crying, but at that time the Holy Spirit was touching her. And the next morning there was another man who is one of the elders of the church. He came in and he was holding his two arms up high like this. Well, he couldn't really say what was happening, so somebody was telling me, oh, he could only do this before, and now he can do this. So that was a delayed healing, but God did awesome things. So anyway, we decided to stay there. After Pastor Sonny had prayed, she said the Lord told her we need to stay with these people, that they were a gift to us. And so we stayed. So then Pastor Sonny gave us permission to teach children at the public school. So we both taught, Karina and I both taught. She taught the upper levels, I taught the elementary, the first, second, and third graders. And surprisingly, the English teachers could not speak English. So we had to speak Thai. We had to up our Thai because, in order to communicate with the teachers, even the principal couldn't speak. There was one teacher that was the liaison person for us who could speak English and really understand us. So they really need people to teach over there. But anyway, there's a ministry in the church, a children's ministry, an international ministry also that has classes for leadership on Saturday. So we also taught in that class every Saturday. We taught English to the children. So anyway, we were doing like 12 hours a week each of that. Pastor Sonny said, okay, I want you to go out at least once a month to an unreached village. That is a village that doesn't have any church and no Christians. So we decided, okay, after prayer, we said, okay, we got all these children here. They don't come to the church on Sundays. And their parents don't come because they're Buddhists. So let's try to reach the parents of these children. So the director of the program, she went through her list and she got the villages. And how many villages there were? About, I don't know, 9 villages. She said, let's choose this one. They told us which one to choose. So each month we chose one. So October, November, December, January. We did 4. Went to 4 different villages around that very place where we stayed. On the first outreach, we went for a pre-visit. And this month, the lady we went to, her children attend that ministry. And she's a young lady. So we decided to go for a pre-visit to sort of introduce ourselves and let them know what we were doing. Long story short, we prayed for people on the first day. And we set a date for us to come back to preach, and they would gather all the people. Well, her mother-in-law, this particular lady's mother-in-law, got healed from arthritis. She said she couldn't even push herself up. She was scooting on the ground. And she came to church the day before we even went to preach. She came to give a testimony about her healing.
Wow.
And so by the time we got there were about 30-something people there. So let's see the next slide. The next slide. Okay. So this is a church building. That's where we stayed. The church is upstairs, we were downstairs. And down there on the left side, you see, I was teaching the children on the Saturday, the little ones, so we were teaching them about creation. So another thing that happened was this young man with Matthew is one of our missionaries. This young man with Matthew, he's very good with computers. He had been helping the church, but he wasn't really saved. He was just coming because he knew about computers. And so Matthew led him to the Lord before they left. And this young man had such a zeal now. When we left, coming back here, he said he wants to be a pastor. So there is fruit here, ladies and gentlemen. There is fruit here. Okay, let's do the next slide quickly. So then we went also to, and this is from that village. See those 6 ladies there, sitting on the right side, sitting on the benches?
Yeah.
Those 6 ladies are being discipled at that church when we left. There are 6 people are being discipled from that very first village. So we went to 2 other villages, and then we went to another one of the Sanctipap churches about 2 hours away. Christmas time, I think that month was our busiest month. We had like 3 different engagements. So we went to this church, and this man, I wish I had brought the slide because he actually made a billboard without pictures on it and had it up by the roadside. That was our biggest outreach. It was probably about over 200 people that were there that day.
Wow.
And we preached, and I don't know, it's like 40-something people stood up for salvation, and then we prayed over everybody. But it was so many people, and it was so long praying for everybody. Many left. So the pastor of that church, he is related to the pastors of this church where he came back. He said many people are giving us reports that they were healed. And he is actually discipling 8 people in his church.
Wow.
So so when we went back to report to Reverend Kim, he was shocked. He came here last year with his wife, and he told Pastor Sonny something that really shocked me. He said, you know what Albertine and Karina did is more than all my missionaries have done in 25 years. He said he went around to every station where we visited, and there was nothing but good reports about salvations, about healings. And he said we were amazed. He said, I know I said something that wasn't very encouraging. I said you wouldn't get one, but we're so grateful. So the summation is this. We saw over 350 people in these little villages. 82 people responded to the gospel, by showing up hands or standing or praying with us. And 18 are being discipled when we left. 18 were being discipled. So Liberty has fruit in Thailand also.
Wow.
Yeah. You have fruit in Thailand. So any more slides? Let me just see if there are others. Okay, so that's the end of that. But I just wanted to say this. I think without your prayers and your financial help, to see Pastor Diane and Sharon, they are part of our prayer team. I feel like this team was the key. Reverend Kim mentioned it. He said, I believe you had success because of the people that are praying for you. So please don't stop. Thailand is hard, but the prayers can break through anything. I mean, what was said so negatively, it turned into something really great, what God has done. And as I've been praying now about my subsequent trip, I feel like God is saying He's going to even do greater miracles than that when we go back again. So keep your prayers going. We just so much appreciate you. You're small but mighty. Your church is small but mighty. And you have supported us in so many ways. And so I just wanted to say thank you. And God bless you. And you will share in this group. And God is going to just increase you because you helped this ministry to increase.
Amen.